There is something you need to hear today, and it is not an accident that you clicked on this message. Somewhere in the middle of your ordinary life, heaven has been preparing something extraordinary. While you were busy questioning yourself, doubting your worth, wondering whether you were ever going to be loved the way your heart secretly longs for, God was working behind the scenes. He was moving pieces quietly, arranging conversations, aligning paths, and softening hearts. And the truth is shocking, beautiful, and gentle at the same time. Because someone in your story has been hearing God more clearly than you realize. And God has whispered something into their spirit that they cannot shake anymore. He told them, "This is the one I prepared. This is the person I shaped for you. Don't delay. Love them. Commit to them. Stand beside them now." For a long time, you thought relationships failing meant something was wrong with you. You assumed your past disappointments meant you were cursed, unlucky, or simply never chosen. You replayed those conversations late at night, wondering why someone walked away, why they lost interest, why they suddenly changed. You compared yourself to others and believed love belonged to everyone except you. But what you didn't see was the way God was filtering people out. He wasn't rejecting you. He was protecting you. He knew who would play with your emotions. He knew who only wanted convenience, not covenant. He knew who loved the idea of you but not the responsibility of honoring you. So, one by one, he gently closed those doors, even when your heart begged him to leave them open. There is someone right now who did not expect to feel what they feel about you. They tried to ignore it at first. They tried convincing themselves it was timing, infatuation, or just a random emotional pull. But the more they prayed about their future, the more God kept bringing your name, your face, your voice into their spirit. In quiet moments, when no one was watching, God began telling them, "Stop running. Stop analyzing. Stop fearing what could go wrong. I chose this person for you because together, you will heal, grow, and build something sacred." They began noticing things about you that most people overlook. Your kindness. Your loyalty. The way you push forward even after being hurt. The resilience that didn't harden your heart, but deepened it. And suddenly, they didn't see you as an option. They started seeing you as purpose. God is not just connecting you to someone for romance. He is aligning you with someone who understands partnership. Someone who will pray with you when life becomes heavy. Someone who will stay when things get complicated. Someone who won't punish you for your past but will walk with you into your future. This isn't about rushing into something careless. It's about obeying what God already revealed. Because timing matters to God. And there is a reason He is accelerating things right now. You have work to do together. You have destinies that intertwine. You have wounds that will only finally close when love is no longer unsafe, unpredictable, or temporary. There was a moment recently when they felt God speak more directly than ever before. Maybe it was during prayer, maybe during worship, or maybe while sitting in silence. But it was clear. God dropped a piece into their chest that didn't feel like fear or pressure. It felt like home. He reminded them of every time you stood strong alone. He reminded them of every tear you cried secretly. He reminded them of every betrayal you carried silently without turning bitter. And God said, "This heart deserves covering. This soul deserves rest. I am asking you to love them the way I always intended love to look." And something broke inside them, not fear, but pride. They realized delaying wasn't being wise anymore. Delaying was disobedience. The reason God is nudging them toward commitment now is deeper than romance. You have reached a season where isolation would start hurting you more than helping you. You've carried heavy burdens alone for years, convincing yourself that independence means strength. But God is saying, strength doesn't mean walking alone forever. Sometimes strength is letting someone in. You are not being chosen because you are perfect. You are being chosen because you are prepared. Your scars taught you compassion. Your loneliness shaped your empathy. Your heartbreaks trained you to cherish loyalty when it finally arrives. And God looked at all of that and said, "It's time. My child deserves partnership." There is also something your future spouse had to learn before God gave them the green light. They had to unlearn selfish love. They had to outgrow immaturity. They had to confront patterns that would have broken your spirit. There were lessons they resisted, seasons they stumbled, relationships they mishandled. But something shifted. God humbled them. He showed them the weight of covenant. He showed them how fragile the human heart is, and how holy it is to be trusted with someone's soul. Now they are approaching you differently. Not as a temporary thrill, but as a lifelong responsibility. They are slowly realizing that this love story is not about control, but service. Not about image, but integrity. Not about rushing outward displays, but building a quiet foundation. And here is what will melt your heart the most. God didn't just choose someone who is good for you. He chose someone who genuinely cherishes you. Someone who will listen when you speak, instead of talking over your feelings. Someone who will protect your peace, not disturb it. Someone whose presence brings clarity instead of confusion. You won't have to constantly question whether you matter. You won't spend nights wondering if they secretly wish they were somewhere else. Their commitment will be visible, consistent, and steady. Because when God tells someone, "This is the one," He also gives them the grace to love you beyond emotion. He gives them patience during conflict, gentleness during misunderstandings, and the humility to apologize instead of compete. This relationship will not be perfect. You will still have disagreements. You will still bring your past triggers and hidden fears with you. But the difference is, this time, love will not abandon you mid-healing. They will stand beside you as those old wounds finally close. They will see the parts of you that feel unlovable and choose you anyway. They will learn your language, the way you need reassurance, the way you feel safe, the way you receive affection. And God will teach both of you how to build slowly, with wisdom, not pressure. Every conversation will carry intention. Every decision will be prayed over. You will feel covered spiritually, emotionally, and mentally in a way you have never felt before. God is saying, prepare your heart. Not in fear, but in expectation. There is a reason this video found you. There is a reason your spirit feels a strange calm right now. Somewhere, possibly closer than you think, someone is surrendering to God's instruction. They are finally letting go of hesitation. They are finally choosing clarity over confusion. And while you sit wondering whether love forgot you, God is saying, love is already walking toward you. I am guiding their steps. And when they stand before you one day, whether in conversation, commitment, or covenant, you will sense something different. Not intensity driven by desire, but peace grounded in purpose. You will realize that all the waiting wasn't punishment, it was preparation. God wasn't withholding love, He was shaping both of you so that when He finally said, "Now," neither of you would run from something that was meant to last. What you do not fully see yet is how God has been preparing your heart quietly, layer by layer. He has been teaching you patience not to punish you, but to deepen you. Every season where you felt ignored was training you to recognize genuine love when it finally arrived. Because before, you may have settled. You may have accepted attention instead of commitment, charm instead of character, promises instead of actions. But now, your spirit has matured. You no longer crave chaos disguised as passion. You crave peace, honesty, partnership, and God knew that once you reached that level of growth, the love He prepared would finally make sense to you. Right now, the person God is nudging is feeling a shift. There's a seriousness waking up inside them. Things that used to distract them suddenly feel empty. Temporary connections no longer satisfy. Random conversations no longer feel meaningful. They are beginning to see the difference between companionship that passes time and connection that shapes destiny. God is gently pressing into their heart, reminding them that life is fragile, seasons change, and some opportunities are divine invitations that should not be delayed. And every time they question whether they are ready, God keeps responding with the same whisper, I will help you love them. I will guide you. Trust me more than your fear. This isn't a fairy tale. It's a faith journey. And God is very careful when it comes to marriage, because He understands the deep spiritual responsibility behind it. Marriage isn't just about two people sharing a house, it is two destinies intertwining, two prayers merging, two lives learning to surrender pride so love can breathe. And God knows you deserve someone who doesn't just like the idea of marriage, but honors the sacredness of it. Someone who vows to stay even when life shifts in unexpected ways. Someone who chooses you daily, not only during easy seasons, but during stormy ones too. There are moments when this person sits quietly and feels a strange softening in their chest. They think about how you laugh, how you talk, how you see the world. They think about what it would feel like to come home and know that the person waiting for them is not a stranger to their soul but a partner in spirit. They imagine protecting your heart, not breaking it. They picture praying with you instead of fighting against you. And every time they try to move on or distract themselves, God gently brings them back to the same revelation, this love is not ordinary. It is part of the calling I placed on your life. What will melt your heart is realizing that God is not forcing them. He isn't pushing through fear. He is guiding through peace. Real love, when rooted in God, doesn't rush recklessly, but it doesn't procrastinate endlessly either. It listens, prepares, reflects, and then steps forward with courage. And this person is reaching that moment where courage is stronger than uncertainty. Where faith is stronger than doubt. Where obedience is more meaningful than comfort. And you, yes, you listening to this, have been being healed in ways you didn't even notice. The nights where you cried and wiped your tears before anyone saw them. The days you kept loving others despite the pain you carried. The times you forgave silently without getting the apology you deserved. All of those moments shaped your heart. God watched closely. He saw the sacrifices no one thanked you for. He saw the patience you practiced when life felt unfair. And He quietly said, I will reward this heart with a love that reflects my kindness. Sometimes, God waits until our identity is rooted in Him before He gives us romantic fulfillment. Because when your sense of worth comes from Him first, you won't cling to a person out of fear of losing them. You will choose partnership, not dependency. Love will be something you enjoy, not something you use to fill emotional emptiness. And that is exactly where you are now, stronger, wiser, deeper, more aware. There will come a moment where a conversation between you and this person feels different. Words will feel intentional. Vulnerability will replace defensiveness. Honesty will feel safe. Something inside you will whisper, this is not like before. And slowly, your heart will begin to relax. You will stop bracing for abandonment. You will stop assuming everything good ends. Because their consistency will gently teach you that stability is not boring, it is sacred. This relationship won't be built on manipulation or pressure. It will grow through communication, patience, prayer, and mutual effort. They will not disappear when overwhelmed. They will not use silence as punishment. Instead, they will lean closer, not away, because God is shaping them into someone who understands that love thrives when handled with maturity. And yes, you will still have moments of insecurity. You may question why they chose you. You may fear repeating past mistakes. But God will remind you gently, you are not loved because you are flawless. You are loved because I designed you to be a blessing in someone's life. That truth will anchor you. Behind the scenes, angels are aligning paths, opportunities, and conversations. God is creating divine timing, not coincidence. And the whisper inside their heart is becoming clearer. It is time to honor what I placed in front of you. Step forward. Commit. Love them fully. One day, when they finally express what God placed on their heart, their words may not sound dramatic or poetic. They may simply say something sincere, like, I feel peace with you. I feel called to build with you. I don't want to waste more time pretending we're just passing by each other. I believe God is guiding this. And in that moment, something inside you will finally exhale. You will realize God did not forget you. He was writing carefully. And years from now, when you look back, you will see how precise His timing was. You will remember nights you questioned His plans, mornings you felt unseen, seasons where loneliness wrapped around you like a heavy blanket. And you will smile gently and say, now I understand. Because the love God sends doesn't just fill space, it transforms your understanding of what love truly means. This isn't just a romantic promise. It is a reminder that God cares about the details of your heart. He is deeply intentional. He wants you covered, cherished, protected, and spiritually uplifted. And He knows who is capable of walking beside you through every season ahead. So take a breath. Release the fear. Stop assuming you are always the one left behind. Somewhere, right now, someone is praying, learning, surrendering, and preparing because God whispered your name into their destiny. And when God speaks, His words never return empty. And this is only the beginning of the story. As time moves forward, you will begin to notice little signs that something is shifting. Not dramatic, cinematic moments, but gentle, meaningful changes. Your heart will feel less heavy. Old memories that once hurt deeply will begin to fade into lessons instead of wounds. You will catch yourself smiling without forcing it, laughing without pretending, believing again without fearing disappointment. And you may not realize it right away, but that's God healing you to receive what is coming. Because love requires space. Space in the heart. Space in the mind. Space in the soul. And for a long time, your space has been occupied by fear, comparison, unanswered questions, and silent expectations. Slowly, God has been clearing all of that out. Not by rushing, but by renewing your perspective. He has been teaching you that you don't need to chase attention to feel valued. You don't need to beg anyone to choose you. You don't need to compete to be worthy. You simply need to stand where He placed you and let the person meant for you recognize what God already saw. On the other side, this person is growing too. They are realizing that love is not about possession, it's about stewardship. It's about honoring another human soul. And they think about you more often than you may believe. Not in obsession, but in gratitude. They see your resilience, your gentle strength, your kindness that refuses to die despite everything you endured. They notice the way you care for people without wanting attention. They observe how deeply you love, even when you try to hide it behind humor or strength. And they find themselves quietly thanking God for someone like you. God is teaching them patience as well. Because commitment requires discipline. It requires learning how to communicate when misunderstandings arise. It requires unlearning ego, stubbornness, and emotional walls. In the past, they may have run when things got too real. They may have chosen distractions instead of depth. But now they're understanding something sacred. Real love doesn't scare you because it's intense, it humbles you because it's pure. There will be moments where they wrestle with thoughts like, what if I'm not enough, or what if I disappoint them? And in those moments, God gently reminds them, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be faithful. I will shape you both as you walk together. That reassurance becomes their courage. And when your paths align more clearly, conversations will deepen naturally. You won't talk only about surface-level things. You'll discuss dreams, faith, fears, life lessons, purpose. You'll talk about the kind of home you both want to build, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. You'll talk about supporting each other through difficult seasons. And instead of feeling drained, you'll feel understood. Instead of feeling judged, you'll feel seen. Instead of feeling used, you'll feel valued. Over time, your heart will begin to trust the process. Not because everything is perfect, but because the presence of God will be woven through every step. There will be prayers whispered late at night. There will be moments when one of you says, let's take this to God before we decide. And that simple sentence will become one of the most beautiful bonds between you. You won't just be lovers. You'll be teammates. Partners. A team built by heaven, learning to lean on God together rather than fighting each other. And when doubts try to creep in, because they will, God will remind you of all the ways He prepared you. He'll remind you of the storms you survived. He'll remind you of the prayers you prayed, asking Him not to give you just anyone, but the right one. He'll remind you of nights you whispered, God, I just want someone who truly loves me. And He will gently say, see? I listened. I was working while you were waiting. The reason this story will melt your heart is because you will realize something powerful: you were never overlooked. You were never forgotten. You were never destined to roam through heartbreak forever. You were hidden, protected, and reserved for a time when both hearts could honor what God was doing. The person meant for you will not see you as a burden. They will see you as a blessing. They won't resent your emotions. They will hold them carefully. They won't belittle your dreams. They will support them. They won't treat your love as disposable. They will treasure it. And each day that passes, they will grow more confident that saying yes to you is saying yes to God's plan. Marriage, when led by God, becomes more than a ceremony. It becomes a ministry. It becomes a living testimony that patience is rewarded, that healing is possible, and that God writes stories that outshine every heartbreak. So don't rush. Don't panic. Don't assume you missed your chance. Instead, prepare your spirit. Pray for clarity, not control. Pray for wisdom, not worry. Pray for peace, not pressure. Ask God to shape you as He shapes them, so that when your lives finally merge, you are both ready not just to fall in love, but to stay in love. The story is unfolding. And every day, the one God chose grows closer to understanding that loving you is not just a choice, it is an assignment wrapped in blessing. And when that moment comes, your heart will know, this is what God was preparing me for all along. As days pass, something subtle begins happening inside you. You notice that instead of begging God for someone to love you, you start asking Him to help you become the kind of partner that honors Him. Your prayers shift from desperation to preparation. You begin working on your peace. You learn to communicate more honestly. You become aware of your triggers and start healing instead of hiding them. And in that private transformation, God smiles, because He knows that healthy love flows from healed hearts. Meanwhile, the person God has chosen is going through their own awakening. They are realizing that life isn't measured by how many people pay attention to them, but by who walks with them through storms. They are realizing that temporary thrills can never replace deep companionship. And they can't explain it fully, but there is a quiet reverence when they think about you. They see you not as someone to try out, but as someone to build life with. They sense responsibility. They sense calling. They sense purpose. God whispers again. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just a gentle reminder, don't let fear steal this blessing. Step forward. Trust me. And every time they feel uncertainty, peace returns. Peace that says, this is safe. This is intentional. This is me guiding you. There will come a moment where God aligns the timing so perfectly, it won't feel forced. Schedules will align unexpectedly. Conversations will deepen naturally. Opportunities to open up will appear without effort. And in those moments, you will realize that God doesn't create confusion, He creates clarity. Your heart will soften toward the idea of marriage again. Not the fantasy version, but the real one. The version where two imperfect people learn to love patiently, communicate honestly, and forgive generously. You'll begin to see marriage not as a risk, but as a sacred journey where both of you are constantly being refined. And as you prepare, God will gently remove people who cannot go where you're going. Some friendships will fade. Old connections will dissolve. Not out of cruelty, but protection. Because God doesn't allow sabotage around sacred covenants. He separates you from what would harm you, even when you don't understand at first. In quiet moments, you may feel emotions rising. Gratitude. Wonder. Maybe even tears. Not because someone finally chose you, but because you realize God's love has been choosing you all along. Every moment of delay was actually Him saying, I'm saving you for something safer, deeper, more aligned. And that realization melts fear. It quiets insecurities. It replaces anxiety with trust. The person He is sending will not compete with your calling, they will support it. They won't pull you away from God, they will walk with you toward Him. Together, you will push each other to grow, not shrink. There will be laughter, shared dreams, honest talks, and yes, challenges, but even challenges will become places where you learn to lean on each other rather than turning into enemies. One day, when they finally sit across from you and share their heart, it will feel less like a confession and more like confirmation. A gentle knowing. A sense of divine alignment. And in that space, God's peace will wrap around you like a quiet embrace, reminding you that everything He promised, He is capable of fulfilling. You may look at them and see the humanity, their flaws, their vulnerability, their nervousness. But deeper than that, you will see their sincerity. You will notice their humility. You will realize they are not coming to impress you, but to honor what God is doing. Love written by God unfolds with patience. It grows with trust. It survives storms because it wasn't built overnight, it was built in seasons of faith, waiting, learning, and surrender. So keep your heart open, but grounded. Stay hopeful, but wise. Continue growing, healing, and trusting. Because the story God is writing isn't just about romance. It's about destiny, partnership, and the kind of love that reflects His character. And every single day, the one he chose is moving closer to that moment of obedience where they finally say, "Yes, Lord. I understand now. I'm ready." And when your lives finally cross in the fullness of His timing, you'll realize that God wasn't late, He was perfect. And then, almost without realizing it, you step into the moment everything begins to make sense. Not because life suddenly becomes perfect, but because your spirit finally feels aligned. The questions that once haunted you lose their power. The fears that used to control your thoughts begin to fade. You stop wondering whether you are lovable, because God has already answered that question through the peace He places in your heart. The person God whispered about finally finds the courage to listen completely. They stop negotiating with their fears. They stop delaying what they already know is right. One evening, while thinking deeply about the future, they imagine life without you, and something inside them feels incomplete. Not out of dependency, but out of revelation. They realize that their journey would be more meaningful with you walking beside them. They realize that their prayers feel stronger when they imagine praying with you, not alone. And in that quiet clarity, they choose obedience. They reach out with honesty. No games. No manipulation. No half-hearted feelings dressed as love. Their words carry sincerity. They open their heart and speak from a place of vulnerability. I believe God is guiding this. I don't want to take this lightly. I want to build something lasting, something real, something that honors Him, with you. In that moment, your soul doesn't panic. It doesn't run. Instead, it recognizes something familiar, peace. Not the temporary kind that disappears when emotions fade, but the deep kind that stays even when reality feels uncertain. You feel covered, not controlled. Seen, not judged. Honored, not tested. And tears may rise because you've waited so long to feel chosen in this way, not for what you can give, but for who you are. Slowly, your story shifts into a partnership. Conversations deepen. Boundaries become respected. Decisions are prayed over instead of rushed. You begin dreaming together. Not dreams of unrealistic perfection, but dreams grounded in commitment, growth, and faith. You picture building a future where laughter fills rooms, where forgiveness replaces grudges, where grace lives in every disagreement, and where God remains the center. There will still be challenges, because real love does not remove life's storms. But this time, storms will not tear you apart. They will teach you how to hold each other tighter. You will learn how to listen when emotions get loud. You will learn how to apologize without pride. You will learn that humility is stronger than ego, and patience is stronger than anger. And every time you overcome something together, your bond will deepen, not weaken. You will begin noticing how God's fingerprints were everywhere. He was there when doors closed. He was there when people left. He was there when you sat alone thinking love was over for you. He was there shaping your heart, and shaping theirs. Every delay carried purpose. Every tear watered growth. Every unanswered prayer redirected you towards something safer and more sacred. One day, maybe while sitting quietly beside them, you will look over and realize that you aren't afraid anymore. You aren't questioning whether you deserve love. You aren't replaying past heartbreaks like movies that never end. Instead, you feel rooted. Secure. Seen. And in your heart, you whisper, "Thank you, God. This is what you were preparing me for." And the person God sent will continue doing the small, steady things that mean everything, checking on you when you're quiet, praying with you when you're overwhelmed, laughing with you when life gets heavy, reminding you that you don't have to face anything alone anymore. They won't just say they love you, they will show it in the ordinary moments that build extraordinary trust. In time, the decision they made to obey God will become one of the greatest blessings in both your lives. Not because the journey is flawless, but because it's faithful. And you will both come to understand that love directed by God is never rushed, but it is never aimless either. It moves with intention. It honors timing. It respects growth. It nurtures the soul. So as you listen to these words, let this sink deeply into your spirit: you are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not too late, or too broken, or too complicated. You are in process. A process guided by a God who sees the deepest parts of your heart and cares enough to match you with someone capable of honoring it. Somewhere, someone is obeying a divine nudge. They are learning courage, shedding fear, and opening their heart, because God whispered your name with tenderness. And when everything finally unfolds, you will not look at it and say, "What luck." You will look at it and say, "That was God." So hold on to faith. Keep becoming the best version of yourself. Keep trusting the quiet work happening behind the scenes. Preparation is not punishment, it is love working ahead of time. And when the moment arrives, when love steps into your life with purpose and peace, you will know without doubt, God told them to marry you, not because you were perfect, not because you begged, but because your heart was always meant to be cherished. And that realization, truly will melt your heart.